6 months ish.
I could tell you what.
So here's an interesting thing I figured out or thought about, and that's why I asked you earlier, like what the range of this sonar is, because the humpback whales, they do have like a rough lower range that they can hear. It's like 40 hertz is not what they hear. What they speak at is 40 hertz is like the lowest they'll really go, whereas the human ear is around 20. However, when mother whales are with calves in feeding areas, I'm assuming sharks, they actually speak in what was referred to as indoor voices, which actually dip lower than that 40 hertz kind of standard. So the reason, because I know one of the big wind takes is that the sonar is not really existing in the range of what the whales communicate in, but I found it really interesting that they do have this capability to basically whisper. So they are hearing lower frequencies.
Well, my question was
lower, higher. I don't know exactly how that works.
My question to Sean is, we know the whales migrate. We see them in the end of the summer, September and October, and I know that when I'm down in Tortola, they're down there, and they migrate south, and and then in the summer they come up and they go north to feed, off of Nova Scotia or even further up, off of wherever, Newfoundland. What I'm getting at is, where are they now? I thought I didn't know they're still out there now. I thought they were out of here, because 50 miles. I mean, if they're getting impacted by all this, it's 50 miles and in. And I thought they migrated out of here already. So is there something else going on? They're lingering.
Yeah, Ty said earlier
they're staying around.
Smaller pods that just go around the world at all times. Like even if it's not like the big breeding groups, like there are just whales everywhere. So like we have geese around here. Some migrate and some don't.
And they can communicate at distances up to like 20 miles. So they don't even necessarily have to be like super local to where the surveying is happening.
And I'm speculative to how we even can understand how much whales hear, because we're not whales, and like just because we talk at this level, we hear sounds way lower than this level that we're currently speaking at.
Yeah. Okay. So
and they're just wicked intelligent. Like I don't know if you guys have ever, Key, I'm sure you are familiar with Phil DeMars, the walrus whisperer.
Yeah.
He works at this, or used to work at this place called, it was like the Canadian equivalent of SeaWorld.
Yeah.
And he was a walrus trainer, and he got into it because he was passionate about animals and he wanted to be around them all the time. And the longer he was there, he realized how poorly that these animals were being treated, until he quit. And now he's been basically fighting lawsuits, defamation lawsuits, because he outed this place, Marineland. He outed Marineland for what they were doing to these animals. And he posts these videos of this orca. Her name is Kiska, I believe. And she's the last orca at Marineland in a pool like smaller than a block in Seaside Heights. And all of her babies were taken away from her. And she's there alone by herself, nobody to talk to, nobody to interact with. And you know what she does all day? She bangs her head against the wall. These animals are smart and they know they're being tortured, so it doesn't surprise me at all that a whale would be driven to the point of insanity by just this constant dull, thud, in the back of their brain.
What's your point, though?
How smart they are, how they feel that.
Well, I'm going to put I'm going to
put one alone in a pool and it drives it crazy.
So I'm going to take a character here. I'm what do you call it? Jim Jackson. Conservation.
Are you about to advocate for the devil?
And I'm going to listen. I'm going to be, and we're going to be. I'm going to take Thornburg and Al Gore and everybody. We're going to be dead in 10 years. The whole world, the human population, is going to be dead unless we do this.
Why does the whale matter?
Who gives a shit about a whale? Right?
Because they're an absolutely vital part
now,
of that ecosystem.
Of course, the same people who are calling for this are sending tanks and escalating the war in Ukraine, where thousands of women and children are being killed right now. And it's on our dime. It's on our taxpayer money, just so you guys know.
Well, this
and
isn't a politics show. So.
I know. Well, but it's life. And so we're moving along.
life.
So you have, again, extreme, hysterical people running and doing things. First of all, we ain't going to be dead in 15. We'll be dead. If we have a nuclear war, we'll be dead. The climate's changing, no doubt about it. And there's no doubt about it that CO2 emissions are going up. This is a political, feel-good, way to deal with it. It's just...
You're speaking about the wind
It feels
turbines.
like that,
It's going to kill whales. You don't need to do it. It's a waste of time. If anything, work on the nuclear stuff. It's clean. You got a plant right here. You got a couple other plants.
Isn't that pretty damn ironic, though, that the policy and the people behind pushing these wind turbines are all of the what you would call left-wing climate champions?
No, there's a lot of activist groups that are against these wind turbines right now.
But at the base of it, that's what drove the decision to make them, right? Isn't Murphy like what do you call
you have
progressive governor?
Right. You have people who want the old Star Trek where they want one government, one entity, one global.
But the Star Trek one was good.
Right. And
our president talked about that.
Right. And here's the thing, though. They're the ones who are going to make decisions. They're the ones that are going to tell you what to do. And, so there's the big thing here is you got to get fossil fuels are the enemy, any fossil fuels. And that's bullshit. You got to have some. You can't just get rid of them all. But you want to, there are alternatives and you need to be working on them. I think this whole issue brings up is that there's always, for every action is an equal and opposite reaction. Mm-hmm. You cannot do nothing in the world, in life, without causing, some damage. What is it? You can't make an omelet without breaking eggs? Mm-hmm. Is that the analogy? So this is not only going to kill whales, it's going to kill birds, it's going to kill people, it's high maintenance, ships are going to crash into them. They're going to get knocked down.
That's why I brought up the beach replenishment before. That's like a micro example of what this project's going to turn out to look like. And for basically an entire summer, we were swimming in water that was like stained red with the blood of countless sea animals. It was crazy.
It ground up a lot of them.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it ground up a lot.
That's the type of damage we're going to see, probably like tenfold.
Yeah. But and again, what is it? What's the purpose of it? So we're in a hysterical, crazy time right now. I think for us, if you go look around, how many solar panels in New Jersey? There's a lot. New Jersey is not the sunniest place. I think solar panels are good. I think nuclear power is where it's at if you really want to go. But to think that the world is going to be that this is even going to make a difference, So one whale, is it worth one whale? Our carbon emissions, I don't know, maybe are 6%. I mean, the people who are polluting big time is South America, and Asia.
Africa,
and Africa.
Asian colonizing Africa,
and you got poor people there. You got I don't know, in India, like 100 million people starving. It's not like they don't have dessert; they're starving to death. People in China, same thing. I mean, the only way those governments are going to keep those people together is they're going to have to have cheap fuel. Right now, China, I just read an article. They're 20% more coal burning than last year, and they're going to keep going up and up. They're not going to stop. So what we're doing here is make feel good. Somebody's making money. I think, and I tell you, I hope to God that what shuts it down is the whales. That's great because then you could go after these tree hugger people, who's telling me we're going to be dead in 10 years. I mean, I'm telling you, I had people yell at me in the hospital, other doctors who were intelligent men and women, like spitting at me, like, shaking. Like I had to like calm down, dude.
It is crazy how worked up people
were you
get.
winding them up a little bit?
No, I was just I'm like, dude. I said I don't. He goes, they're like, do you believe in climate change? I go, yeah. I things are
changing.
My father used. There's this talk right now that there's too many people on the planet. We gotta thin the planet out.
Yeah,
that's crazy talk, man.
Bill Gates has been talking about that for a long time.
Wow. All right. Hey, listen, it's called.
That's George Soros, the New World Order.
Listen, it's called.
You want to get weird?
We might have talked about this, but
you want to talk about World War III, man? You guys.
No. You know how like they talk about the emissions from dairy farms, cow farms?
Yeah.
I heard like this made so much sense to me that we used to talk about how there used to be so many buffalo that you couldn't they were basically shoulder to shoulder across the Great Plains.
Millions and millions.
So how is their emissions significantly less at that time than the cow farms that we have right now.
There isn't.
That,
you know.
right? That, I
For-
mean, like
for-
I'm
for-
asking.
I never
I don't
thought.
know.
Is that like an original thought, or is that an argument you've heard?
That's an argument I've heard somewhere.
See,
Very
we have a tendency to look, you know, we're human beings. For us, 100 years is a long time. In a geographic, scheme of things, million years is a long time. We only been on this earth, I don't know, 10,000 years. Human beings.
Maybe more.
Maybe
It's
more.
gonna be longer than that.
But the thing is, things are changing. I guarantee you this: no matter what we do, 10, 20, 30 years from now, we're going to have another ice age. There is nothing going to stop
In
it.
10, 20, or 30 years.
Excuse me, 30,000, 10,000, between, say 30,000 years.
And you're saying we're not all going to be dead in 15
No.
years?
In the future.
No.
There'll be an ice age.
There'll be an ice age in, I think, between 30 and 50,000 years. We're in a cycle now.
It's not warming that's scary, apparently. It's
You can have
cooling.
warming, but we could all be gone. I can tell you and this is why I don't want to drag the show down, but what's really real right now is China is going to take over Taiwan. They're not going to let it go. You got this thing in Ukraine, and that guy Putin's got. He's not.
Isn't China's population like
1.8 billion.
60 to 70% like old people though? They barely have any young people.
They got plenty. Trust me. But here's the thing. Putin has as many or nuclear warheads as we do. I'm telling you right now.
Apparently he's sick.
Doesn't
He's
matter.
dying.
There's somebody else there. My point
Apparently,
is,
they want us to think he's sick too.
yeah, but here's the thing, Sean. It's the
40
difference.
chest.
The difference between there are people saying, give this out analogy, and you guys have to think about it. You guys should remember Stalingrad and what went on with the Russians and the Germans. Right now, Putin is not Hitler. Hitler didn't have nuclear weapons. It would be hard for one of the things is Germany could never touch the United States unless they got the bomb. Same thing with China. It was Japan. So, but now we could be touched like that. This country could be wiped out with nuclear weapons.
Yeah, but any country.
I know, but here's the thing, though. But we're
capabilities?
fighting now. It's one thing you fight in Afghanistan. It's a proxy war. You're going with the Russians. Or Vietnam was. We were fighting China. Really, we were fighting China and the Soviet Union. But this is where now we're going after the Soviet Union. And if it escalates, if we put boots on the ground, these tanks that they want to get, well, who's going to ride those tanks? It's going to be American soldiers. What about F-15 planes? It's going to be American soldiers. Once you do that, you're looking at World War III. And if China makes a move, it's over. You want to talk about all of the shit we talk about will be gone. And I remember from my generation, I remember the Vietnam War, and it was brutal. I watched it on TV every day. I got a draft card. My uncles fought in World War II and Korea.
One of my high school,
but let me make a point though. The reality is brutal, and I can't believe that people today we should not be in this situation. This is crazy. You're going to have this was Stalingrad, because I'm Russian. Stalingrad surrendered. The Germans in Stalingrad surrendered in 80 years ago. This day or yesterday. You're going to have now, since World War II, German tanks rolling into Russia. Think about that. If MacArthur and Patton were alive right now, they'd be like, what are you effing doing? So anyway, I just wanted to throw it out. But the whale thing brings up a good point. What are we doing? We're hurt. But it plays into.
Brought it back to whales.
It plays into the thing, because you guys on a certain level are like, wait. We want to help. We want technology, but is it worth the risk?
Oh no, I'm so for stopping this wind turbine. Saving
Right.
the whales.
And I agree with you. But I look at it a little bit different too. I'm 30,000 feet up. I want to stop the wind turbines because the whales, but because it's stupid. Because somebody's ripping off making money. It's not effective. It's not efficient, and it puts more people at risk. So. Will it create jobs? You could create other jobs. So
you ready to find out how much you know about humpback whales?
I don't know much about
the.
I know they got a blowhole. I know that.
Actually,
did you ever watch that movie? There was one with the George
Pinocchio?
Costanzo. George Costanzo. He was shooting golf balls off the beach, and he got
an episode of Seinfeld.
And what happened is a whale beached up, And what happened was George went over there, and it was what happened was the whale had a
Blowhole.
Have you ever seen
a
whales
golf
explode?
ball in his blowhole. He took it out and he saved the whale. It was like he was a hero.
Have you ever seen whales explode, Catch?
No, but I know they used them for oil. You know that
They did actually. So even
whales were used for oil.
a little town in Cape May called Town Bank takes 6 to 7 whales a day from the ocean. William Penn,
now?
No, back in the day, like
Oh.
1800s, 1700s.
Well, remember, guys, all your oil for your lamps. There was no gasoline. There was no diesel fuel. There's no oil. So all your oil came from whales.
Their blubber's like
Right.
that
They
thick.
would burn it down and it would make an oil. And that oil fueled all of your streetlights in Europe and United States.
You know they eat 3,000 pounds a day of krill, small fish.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Yeah, but blue whales, they're like the filter feeders. So they don't have there's toothed whales and dolphins, and then
Right.
there's the filter feeders. So they have like these plates of
Right.
basically hair
Right.
that filter
It's like a filter.
the krill through, and then their blowholes, the water goes out, and they swallow whatever in their mouth.
There's great books written and movies made about not only the whales being harvested, but the boats and the men that were involved in it.
Well,
And they
I
had
just
these
started reading
beautiful-
Moby Dick.
These beautiful sailboats, and they would go out, and they would go out for a year, and they would go all around the world. And Moby Dick was chasing the big whale, and they had guys on these little boats. I mean, it was an amazing thing. And but once the oil was found in Pennsylvania, that was pretty much the death knell.
Yeah, William Penn had a Jersey Shore house, and he would come down and hunt whales.
Oh yeah, well, hunt whale, and people eat them. They got good meat.
I mean, it was, it was a huge industry. Like,
Yeah.
it's part of history.
Yeah, can you imagine? I read this article also, and I'll leave you with this too. When they first came to this country, and they came to New Jersey, they said that the Barnegat Bay. Now there was multiple inlets, that are not here now, and Barnegat Bay was loaded with oysters. It was one of the most fertile oyster beds, and it used to supply New York. There was so many whales, so many bluefish. They used to say that up in off of Maine, the lobsters weren't even considered. Nobody even wanted them, but the cod. They said the cod was so thick, and that the cod ran that industry. If you go back and look at the founding fathers in Plymouth and all of that up there, New England, their main industry was fishing. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting about that, they created different men and women, because if you were farmers, you're related to the land. These guys can make their money out in the sea, and they made big money. And so, the politics changed. So it's the whole fishing thing. We don't even look at it in that regard, but it was huge. Now those fish are gone. Swordfish industry was big. That's just about gone. You want to read a good book about that? It's called The Perfect Storm, and it talks about the swordfish fishery. And now what happens with the crabs? The
Deadliest catch?
Yeah, I heard they're gone. Nobody know where they went. Did they come back?
The king crabs?
They were gone.
I heard about this. I didn't know that it's not. I don't know the update.
Gone. They said they couldn't find them. I think they closed down they closed it down. Now nobody's talking about that. I don't know what the problem is. We should look into that next time.
Look into it, yeah.
But I hear that if you want to look real quick, I heard that the whole season was closed because they couldn't find any clams. So all of this stuff is important. There's a thought, in my opinion, is if you beat up the ecosystem too much, it could collapse. What supports what? But anyway, what do you want? A pen? No. Why? What do you need to do? You need to write something.
Just
Had a couple thoughts.
another thing. The
Should be over there, maybe. Yeah, go ahead.
the no reaction. I have a pen in my bag. The no reaction from like any federal government entity is alarming, because the humpback whales, which are dying off the NJ coast, are protected under the Endangered Species Act and the Marine Mammal Protection Act. Like
Doesn't matter, Sean. We're gonna be dead in 10 years, so
You're
we
right, we're gonna be
can't.
dead in 10 years.
Don't you understand? You got it's all a matter of we're gonna be dead. So what do we got to do?
So